Hey y'all are never going to believe this, but I cannot garden today because it's raining. Woo! If you are in my area, that is Zone 8A in the North Texas area, we just got finished with about 36 days straight of, was it 36 days? Oh, 36 days straight without getting out of the 90s. We actually ended up having over 20 days of 100-degree temps consistently, and we haven't had measurable rain since beginning to mid-June. It's a lot. So we had rain last night, we have rain again today, and all today it is supposed to be in the 80s. We are not going to see the 90s today. Now, don't get me wrong, next week I'll be up in the 90s, but I will enjoy today. So since I can't garden because, you know, it's raining, I've got rain on my glasses. Since I can't do that today, I'm gonna head over to a couple of nurseries in the Richardson area. I have to go over there and pick up Boy Scout popcorn for my husband. And so I thought I'm gonna stop by a couple of nurseries and show you guys around and show you what it's pretty. As always, make sure you hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you know my latest videos are up. And make sure you drop me a comment below. Are you wishing for rain the way I have been wishing for rain? I have been doing a rain dance, washing my car, doing all the things that are needed to bring rain about. And it's finally here. Okay, here I am pulled up at Bruce Miller. I'm going to do a voiceover because they're actually doing construction in the parking lot next to me. I think the front of this was really deceiving. It was much larger than you would think. I was immediately drawn to this Purslane. Absolutely gorgeous. Coral pinks, oranges, peaches, lots of yellow, beautiful color. I thought this was a really good alternative for some fall color, but still dealing with the heat that we experience in this area. I'm always drawn to this darker color potato vine. I think it's so pretty, and I think it's really fun, obviously through the summer, but also really great for fall and an inexpensive way to have some really great fall color impact. Now, this is stepping into the main area where there's a bunch of annuals. This is all under shade cover. I was kind of shocked at the amount of petunias they had. Unfortunately, they were mostly summer tones, and I was looking for autumn tones. I mean, I know it's still a little bit of summer left, but really we're within about 3 to 4 weeks of having some fall color out in all of our gardens. So wasn't super interested in these colors. I did love this dark purple. I thought it was stunning. I consider purple a fall color, in my opinion. I thought these were absolutely beautiful, and I'm always happy with petunias. I think they do really well in my area, and they give you a big burst of color. I was happy to see all of these Snapdragon seedlings because I just posted a video for you all about hardy annuals, and Snapdragons are a hardy annual. So you can plant these within the next like 6 to 8 weeks, and then they will overwinter and come back for you in the spring in our area. This particular variety right here was 18 to 22 inches tall, which I was like, sweet, that's excellent for cut flowers. And so they had that Liberty mix, and then they also had, you know, a beautiful orange tone, which was also very, very tall. And then they also had a yellow tone as well, which was also the very tall mix too. So this was a great area to snap up some of these snaptastic Snapdragons and go ahead and plant for early spring. Now, I was totally drawn to these Blue Days blooms. They're so tiny and sweet. They're supposed to be really great in hanging baskets, but I think these would be really great cascading out of a container as well. I love the pop of blue. You just don't see a lot of true blue colors around in our area. And then, of course, I had to stop by the Coleus. Coleus is one of my favorite foliage to add during fall. Of course, I love it all year round, and there are a wide variety of colors to kind of play with and look at. I was really happy with the health of all of these Coleus, especially considering the heat that they're all dealing with. I thought this one was pretty exceptional. It was called Chipotle, which, hey, you know, I'm a Tex-Mex fan, so Chipotle was all, I was very excited about that. Super fun. But I really liked the lime green with the darker streaking to kind of add a little bit of color and texture in the fall garden. And of course, this particular Coleus really screams fall. It was called Habanero. Also another nod towards, Tex-Mex food, which I'm always excited about. But yeah, this was a really beautiful color. I just think Coleus is just such a fun way to add color and texture to the garden without relying on blooms. This one was a little bit more of a brighter tone than the rest of them that I had seen, and I really kind of like the look of it. It's called Perea Tricolor. Absolutely gorgeous foliage, very pretty. I haven't grown anything on this look before, and so I was really drawn and tempted to potentially pick up that one as well. As I left the annual section and headed over to the vegetables, they had a ton of fall starts for you, specifically tomatoes, dills, peppers, lots of different options. I didn't spend much time there because I've already got in my fall veggies ready to go, and they're actually starting to produce again. And this is the perennial section, which was absolutely huge for a perennial section, in my opinion. A lot of the plants were struggling, but I did manage to find some pretties that I really love. I loved this kind of pale white with a little bit of blush tone balloon flower. Balloon flowers do really, really well in my area. My area is Zone 8A, as a reminder. These are perennials, and they come back year after year after year. And I absolutely love this color. I was very tempted by it, did not leave with it, just because I'm not quite ready to be planting a whole bunch of perennials. I'm still going to give it about another 3 weeks before I work on that, but I still thought it was beautiful. I also loved being able to see this Rubeckia, specifically called Prairie Sun, in person, because I did just order a bunch of seeds for this. So this was really fun to kind of see it in person, what it's going to look like. I didn't realize it was a perennial. In my area, I'll have to do a little bit more research regarding that, but these were lovely. Definitely the look of a sunflower, but a little more dainty than a sunflower. And over here was some Azuratum, and specifically called Greg's Mist. And this is very prolific in our area. I haven't planted it in my garden. I've planted Azuratum before, but not specifically Greg's Blue Mist flower, this particular variety. I thought it was really, really pretty. Going down this aisle right here, a lot of stuff is hard to tell what it was because it was dead. But I still found some pretty ones. I loved this Dusty Miller. It's kind of a low growing Dusty Miller called Silver Brocade, and it's hardy, so it does come back year after year. I thought this was a really great kind of ground cover with a little bit more interest and texture than what you would typically choose for a ground cover. I was happy to see that they had native milkweed here, not the typical tropical milkweed or butterfly weed or anything along those lines. This one was kind of cool to see in person. I recently just ripped out a bunch of tropical out of my garden, so it was nice to see an alternative for that. I was drawn to the color of this particular plant because, I mean, obviously those bright red blooms. Is called a firebush. I thought it was really kind of cool. It is, more of a shrub type situation. I was interested enough that I took a picture so I could research it for my area to see if I potentially want to add it to my garden. I also love these sweet little flowers, and I'm not going to even attempt that name because y'all know I'm very terrible at pronunciations. There were lots of yarrow options, very healthy, vibrant, beautiful yarrow options. I could not find all the different varieties, all the tags for them. I assume that this is one of those cottage yarrows. Yarrow is a perennial in my area, and it's a great cut flower. So if you haven't added that to your garden, I would absolutely look into it. The blooms are beautiful when they first bloom and even when they age, which I think is beautiful too. I was really drawn to this kind of dark reddish kind of pink color, and it was labeled as paprika. However, I think it wasn't paprika. Paprika tends to be a touch more red than that. The back of the nursery had tons and tons and tons of shrubs and smaller trees, and there was definitely quite a bit to look at. It was kind of hard to hear because there's a loud street and construction, so it was not as enjoyable of a walkthrough as I usually experience. I loved this shrub just because of the color with kind of the yellow margins on the outside of the leaves. Thought it was very pretty, far too large for my particular space, but still very, very cool in that kind of look and structure of it. Just something that you don't typically see. I was also drawn to all of these kind of topiaries, lollipop topiary kind of feel. This was a cypress, Carolina Sapphire Cypress, but I really like this. I've been wanting to add something similar to my garden with a kind of topiary evergreen feel, and so it was kind of nice to see some things in person, you know, and kind of get a feel for what the look and size and scale might be. Okay, so just finished walking through Bruce Miller Nursery. This is my first time here. I definitely am here at a rough time of year because obviously it's been hot here. And so they didn't have tons and tons of product, and a lot of the product they had was in pretty rough shape. I'm actually surprised they had any product alive because that's how rough things have been in this area. The things I was drawn to the hanging Purslane baskets that are filled with the orange colors because we're just a few weeks out from fall decor and fall flowers, and I kind of like that it bridged that time. So even if it's really, really hot during our fall, I would still have those orange colors. So I thought that was really, really pretty. I also like the purple potato vines. I was very interested in the dark purple petunias. I thought they were great. I think there were a wide variety of Coleuses that I thought were really nice. I did not go through the whole nursery. You guys just saw a snippet of it. I didn't want to walk you through the whole thing. I will say a lot of the shrubs were not labeled at all. And I do know shrubs. I mean, I know them some. I don't know everyone, but I was at a loss that there were thousands of shrubs not labeled. I had no idea. So that was a little kind of frustrating. I can absolutely go ask for help. I just didn't want to go. I like to go to the nursery. I like to do my own thing. And I only like to ask for help if I absolutely need it. So I thought the labeling was kind of a turnoff in the potential for buying something. So that being said, however, I did find flower tone. Let me get that. This is the only thing I bought. I don't have flower tone in my area, and so seeing it there was really exciting. But anyway, we're headed to Calloways in Richardson, so let's chat when we get there. And here we are at Calloways. It is a chain store, so you can find Calloways all the way across the United States. Here's just a general walk-in. They always decorate at the front, which I think is fun and inspiring. They usually have kind of cool gardening sculptures and stuff like that, and have some arranged pots, and it's always kind of nice looking, and you can always find people working. This lady in the blue actually works at Calloways. You can always find the Calloways people working like constantly throughout the nursery. So there's always someone around doing something, watering something, cleaning something. I literally saw these Celosia from across the way and made a beeline to them right away. I'm obsessed with this bright red color. I consider all shades of red a really great fall tone, and Celosia are really good because we're still dealing with warm temps. It will seesaw for a while in our area. So I was just very drawn to this. Love the look, love the color and the texture. They had some beautiful pinks, which I thought were pretty dark magenta tones. They had this one that was half pink, half yellow, which I thought was very cool as well. As I made my way down the aisle, they discovered that they had more Lisianthus, or Texas bluebells is what they're called, starts. I thought the $2.99 was a pretty good price for a 4-inch pot. And it was nice to kind of see these. These can act as a perennial in our area if you take the time to cover them during freezes, which works really great. And so it was nice to see that they still had these. I didn't need them, but I know some of y'all still need some of these. And then, of course, next to it, y'all know how I am about zinnias. They had all these petite, beautiful profusion zinnias, and they were in oranges and yellows, which are fall tones, in my opinion. And so they were really fun to look at. These are kind of starts, and they'll get, at least 12 inches by 12 inches, if not more. Mine tend to grow a little bit more than that size, but yeah, these are great for a fall garden. Here's some Oxalis. I know a lot of y'all have been commenting on this. I have this in my pots on the front porch, and it has been so prolific. Planted it in the spring. It's done great through the spring and the summer, and we're going into the fall, and it's going to make it through the fall, I think, as well, which is super fun. And so it's definitely a plant that I'm very intrigued with, but I wanted to show you guys that they had some options for that here. Now, you know fall is right around the corner when you start seeing crotons in the stores. I love the vivid colors. Now, I have tried planting these outside and not had any luck. So they can be, apparently they can be outside plants, but they're more designed for indoor plants. Beautiful color, especially if you just want a pop inside your house for the fall. I'm just always drawn to them. They are so much fun and so unique and different. Here are a variety of heucheras over here, which I thought were really pretty. I love coral bells or heucheras. I think they're so fun. They come in a variety of colors. They're definitely a perennial that I do not utilize as much as I possibly could. I tend to be drawn to things that have flowers, and so focusing on foliage is something that I kind of forget about. And so, but I am working on some new areas, perennial portions of my garden, especially the front and side gardens. And so I would love to incorporate some heuchera over time, just for a splash of color and of interest. Now, Calloways did have some options for the Coleus. I did not feel that it was as healthy and full as what I saw at Bruce Miller. However, they didn't have a lot, but they had more varieties, even though they didn't have a lot of actual plants. But I thought they were really pretty. And then here I am walking towards the back where we have more perennials, shrubs, smaller trees, ornamental trees type of thing. And so I wanted to kind of show y'all the expanse of all of that. Of course, I walked right over to the heucheras over here because look at that color. Isn't that just stunning? And the frilly leaves, it was so pretty. I couldn't find a tag for that particular one, but I absolutely loved it. This one right here I thought was beautiful, Southern Comfort, which I thought was so fun, obviously because I'm from the South, and I thought these are really pretty, and I did snap several photos of these as a reminder to myself to add to my perennial garden. So as I started walking down this way, I saw this one plant and I was like, oh, that must be a salvia of some type. But then upon further investigation, it was a large kind of scaled giant ajuga, which I was really digging. I almost walked out with some of these. I just didn't have a place for them yet, but I love the scale of them. Look how large the leaves are. Absolutely beautiful. I loved how rich and full and beautiful they were. And then looking at some of the blooms, definitely a larger scale bloom, but totally drawn to these and absolutely love them. This one right here is a Cardona Sage salvia. I thought was really, really pretty. I think it was kind of fun to see that it had already done its original flush, as you can tell by the edges, and then started a new flush in the center. So it's kind of fun to kind of see like the plant partway through that action, just to kind of give you an idea of what to expect. You can obviously leave the older growth, or you can remove the older growth and allow the new growth to shine, just whatever kind of works for you. Over here, I was drawn to this particular plant. It's kind of looks like more like a shrub type of thing. It was a Duranta. I don't know if any of y'all have grown one before, but look at these sweet little flowers. If you've grown this variety, will you kind of give me an idea of what to expect? Does it die back? You know, how large does it get? I really loved it. I like, black-eyed Susans. They're not my favorite kind of plants, but these were fun, and I'm particularly drawn to them for the fall time as well. I love the height of these, which I thought was nice. It's only a single stem. I don't know if that's because it's a new plant or if that's typical of black-eyed Susan plants, but I was kind of like, meh, one single stem, I wasn't going to go for that. This Coreopsis was super fun, very kind of like thready and light and whimsical, almost fairy-like, because it was so petite and, just kind of tiny feeling. I thought that was kind of a neat approach to a Coreopsis. with the tiny petite little blooms. And here we are over at Coneflower Echinacea, which is one of my new obsessions. I have plans to add a lot of this to the garden next year. I've already added 9 this year, but absolutely love it. Really, really pretty. And then I realized this is that Cheyenne Spirit variety. So it's a variety that, it's all the same variety, but it grows in a ton of different colors. So right here, you can see it in the yellow tones, but when I move over, you can see it in kind of reds and paprikas and whites and kind of pinks. All of this is the same variety, just different colors, which I think is kind of fun and different about this particular variety. So I kind of walked past the perennials and started making my way back to all the shrubs. I have been researching more shrubs because I wanted to add more to my landscape. Here was that, I think it was called a burning bush again, or fire bush, that's what it was called. Fire bush again, kind of like the one that I had seen over at Bruce Miller. I thought this was really pretty. I'm really drawn to that red. I've never grown it, but I'm very interested in it. Over here, the Esperanza was just screaming for attention with the bright, beautiful yellow. This is actually a annual in our area because it's only good to zone 10, 11, I believe. Yeah, I think that's what the tag will end up saying. But I love it for the wow factor that it has. You know, I think it's just beautiful yellow blooms that really stand out, or absolutely gorgeous, wild, kind of a cool thing to add to a garden. There's a little bit of plumbago tucked in there. And then as I was scanning, I noticed these variegated leaves over here. Look at this, y'all. I am obsessed. This is a hardy hibiscus, and it's called Summer Carnival. And all of its leaves are variegated with that white and green and a touch of pink worked in. Totally loved it. I wanted it so bad. I had no place for it right now. I'm still getting ready to clear out some areas, or we're adding a bunch of perennials. But since this is a hardy hibiscus, it will come back every year. But definitely took a picture of this because I would love to add it to the garden. I'm not a huge fan of hibiscus, but if the foliage is going to look like this, I'm all for it. I would love to have that in my garden. I really loved the effect of this particular shrub. I love kind of the waterfall look. It was a box honeysuckle. It can be shaped, but then also just allowed to kind of drape over the side. I thought it was just very interesting, a different kind of texture, not something you typically see. I would have in no way thought about trimming this like a box would, like tight, because when you really stand back and you look at the way the foliage kind of drapes, I mean, look at that. Oh, I just thought it would be so cool. And I love the idea of it tucked beside something that's more manicured so they can kind of contrast from one another. This was a Proven Winners. I always try to check out the Proven Winners, and it's a Sweet Spire, Little Henry, which I actually have saved on one of my favorites lists at provenwinnersdirect.com. And so it's really kind of fun to see it in person. I didn't think the leaves were anything all that interesting, but I do like the idea of those sweet little blooms that will bloom throughout the season. I thought that was kind of fun and different, but yeah, look at those blooms. Oh, gorgeous. Yeah, it's so pretty. The leaves were meh, you know. And then, of course, the price a little bit more because it's Proven Winners, but it's typically worth that extra cost, in my opinion. Okay, as I was scanning the shrubs, I noticed back in that back corner, I spotted some Evergreen Topiaries, which I wanted to compare to the ones that I just saw at Bruce Miller. And I will say, even walking up, I knew these were thicker, healthier, and of a better quality, in my opinion. They had them in sets of like the 2 bulbs of green of foliage, and then they had them in sets of 3, which I thought was really fun. I checked out the pricing. I love that everything was labeled, easy for me to read, and I'm dying to put a topiary in my garden, which I'm a little bit nervous about because it's so fancy, right? And my garden's not very fancy, but I do like kind of, these have grown out. They're a little bit softer and they're not too tight. So I definitely think that I could let mine grow out a little bit over time, you know, and then trim them and then allow them to flush out again. I just really love the quality of them just being kind of soft instead of too tight. I was really drawn to this particular one, just the bold darkness. It is a wax leaf privet, and so it will have some blooms on it as well each season. Thought it was so pretty and just very like English garden in style. But then of course I really like the evergreen as well, because I like that blue-green tone as well, which is not something I have a lot of in my garden. And I would like to balance out more, you know, color throughout my garden. But look how beautiful and lush that is. I mean, absolutely beautiful. I have several ligustrums, you know, in my garden. So this was so pretty. Absolutely loved it. I kept obsessing over it. $230 was a hefty price tag, but wow, for that wow factor, that's pretty fantastic. During the hot summer, we always have hibiscus in our area, which really stand out. So it's kind of fun to see some of them in person because it's not something I typically grow in my garden. Hibiscus flowers tend to only last one day, and there's a lot of deadheading involved, and so it's just not my favorite thing to work with. I did love that one with the variegated foliage because the foliage is always beautiful, even if the flowers aren't in bloom and or we're always having to deadhead. So I walked over here just to check out a few more things, and I was kind of drawn to this guy over here. I was like, is this a vine? Like, what are we doing here? And it was a primrose, a jasmine primrose, which I thought was a pretty vine. It might be interesting. I've been kind of considering more vines. Over here, I was checking out a chase tree, or also known as a vitex. I am considering putting this in one of my side gardens. It grows to about 8 to 15 feet tall, so I would train it to kind of be like a shorter tree. I'm also drawn by its purple flowers. I love purple, but this does really, really well with drought in our area, and so that's something of consideration. I'm looking for some type of vitex tree or ornamental tree that has a multi-trunk look, and as I was looking at these, I could definitely tell that I could train them to be, you know, a multi-trunk. If you kind of look, you can see that there's a lot going on in each of them, so I could cut back a lot of the foliage and really kind of train it to maybe be like 3 trunks, as you can see right there. The blooms are about to burst on this vitex tree. Look at that, so pretty. I did walk over here to check out these magnolias. So I have a love-hate relationship with magnolias. Their blooms don't last very long, and then they get all brown and gross. However, I really love the leaves, and I thought this kind of structure with the espalier was very cool. Walking back this direction, I was noticing all the pots along the back, and they have some very cool, you know, decorative items, which I think is fun. Tons and tons of different fertilizers, insecticides, different ways to assist and help with your garden. It was definitely starting to rain down at that point. Definitely drawn to anything fall and Halloween right now, just because I'm so excited for the heat to be done with. And so I was glancing at these and realized that I missed some of this Coleus up front, which y'all, it was beautiful. This is called Coleus, and so it's like a really big leaf, gorgeous Coleus. These were absolutely stunning, absolutely beautiful, and I was obsessing over them. I knew I was going to walk out with at least a couple of these, but they were so pretty, a little pricey, but still gorgeous. I opted for a couple of the smaller ones that I'll show you guys in a different video later, but yeah, with the size of these leaves, I was totally obsessed with them. As I was looking at these, it made me think that I should definitely look up if I can buy Coleus seeds, because Coleus is actually pretty easy to grow from seed. So this is something I'm going to consider and look at. I took a picture to remind myself, because that's literally how I shop at nurseries. I'm always taking a picture because I'm never going to remember on my own. Check out this pot. I was totally obsessed with it. Loved it. Wish I could have brought it home, but it had a pretty pricey price tag on it. Okay, just got done at Calloways and it was raining most of the time I was shopping, which was glorious. I'm all kinds of raindrops, and I do have some friends coming home with me. Super excited. You guys will be seeing those pop up in some other projects. And yeah, I'm really excited. So Calloways was okay. Pretty much everything that they had, Bruce Miller didn't have, and whatever Bruce Miller had, Calloways didn't have. Interesting. So it's kind of nice. Calloway's prices tend to be higher. They're about 20% higher than what I was seeing at Bruce Miller. However, I always feel like the quality is pretty good at Calloways, pretty consistent. Every time I walk in, someone greets me, wants to help me. What do you need? How can I help? You have any questions? Ooh, I love that. I mean, so it's really kind of fun interaction. Even though I like to hide out, they're always friendly. They're always around if you need them, but they're not intrusive, which is lovely. So I'm most excited about the Celosia, that bright red Celosia. It's just to die for. It is going to be a feature on the front curve of my front garden with my fall planting because it is ridiculous. And so I'm kind of psyched. I might go ahead and get that started in the front garden this weekend. Celosia can handle the heat, no problem, and it will go into fall beautifully. And it does tend to reseed itself. And if that bright red Celosia, look at that, y'all. If that reseeds itself in my garden, I would be over the moon. Absolutely gorgeous. So I'm going to keep an eye on that. Maybe I'll save some of the seeds. But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed today's adventure. Doing a little bit of shopping. I'm just enjoying the rain outside. It's been so long. It refreshes me, rejuvenates me. It's amazing. So as always, she's a mad gardener or decorator or anything else that she wants to be. Thanks, y'all.